Hey, I'm Pat, and in this video we'll be going over tools in Roblox Studio. If you don't know what a tool is, you should probably know what it is, but basically, when you are in a game and there's a hotbar down at the bottom and there's like a bunch of different things like weapons or food or whatever down there that you can use. That's basically, those are all tools basically, and you create it, you just add a new instance and you just click tool, and now you have a tool. But you need to give your tool like some kind of physical something that can be seen, so we'll create a part, and I'm just going to make it kind of a square like this, and you parent your part to the tool so that way Roblox knows that the part belongs to the tool. And then you need to have a handle inside your tool, and it has to be called handle with a capital H, or else your tool won't know what to basically, it won't know what to use as the handle. Basically, it's kind of confusing how it works. It's hard to explain, I guess, but you get the idea. You just need something that's called handle inside your tool, and that will be used. I'll probably go over like using multiple parts in a future video, but for now all you need to know is like just one part, and it has to be called handle basically. And you can make it invisible if you want, but tools also have like special properties as well. So they have something called like these grip positions, which are basically determine how the player will visually hold it. Now you can either manually change these, or you could use a plugin like Tool Grip Editor, which will allow you to basically edit the tool grip a lot easier. And we can do something like this to make it so you see up here on the left, it shows you like the whole player, and in Studio you can like manipulate this little arm to show you how the player will hold it basically, and it will automatically update these grip properties as you see. And then there's also can be dropped, which will change whether or not the player is able to drop the tool. And there's also requires handle, and if you disable this, your tool won't need to have like a handle, so it won't need to have any parts in it. So if you're making like a melee combat system, you could turn off requires handle, which will make it a little bit easier. There's also tooltip, which is basically what it will say when you hover over the tool in your inventory. It'll have like a little tooltip, but your tool name is just determined by the name of the tool here. So in order for a player to get the tool when they join, you want to put in starter pack, and I'll go over how to like manually add it to the player in just a second. But we're gonna add a server script to our tool, normal script, right? And our tool has 3 events that we can use. Well, actually 4, but only 3 matter really. I'm only gonna go over 3 for this video. So we're gonna make a variable for our tool, which is going to be the parent of our script, right? And I forgot an equal sign again because I'm stupid, but it's okay. And our tool has 4 events. We're going over 3, right? One of them would be equipped, which fires when the player basically equips the tool. The player can only have one equipped tool, right? So we're just going to connect that to the function. I don't think this passes any arguments, so it doesn't return anything as far as I'm aware. And we're just going to print equipped to show you that the tool is equipped when the player equips it. And then there's also unequipped for when the player unequips the tool. And we can print unequipped. And then the last one would be tool.activated, which is triggered whenever the player left clicks while holding the tool. So now if we go ahead and make the output visible and we press play, you'll see we can pull out the tool and it'll say equipped or unequipped, and then once we click it'll say activated, right? Now one thing to notice is where this tool is stored. So the tool, when it's not equipped by the player, is stored in the player's backpack, which is under the player's service. under the player's instance and inside the backpack. So you can see the tools right here. This is our tool, and whenever we equip it, you see it disappears from our backpack. And now where it is it's inside our player's character under workspace. Basically, the reason for this is because the tool actually needs to attach itself to the player's character. So the tool is actually attached to the player right now. It's actually called welding, but I'm not gonna explain that in this video too much. But basically, the tool is welded to the player's arm right now, or their hand, usually their right hand. And once they unequip it, it's moved back to their backpack. So you can see it moves back and forth between the player's character and backpack. And obviously, when a player equips a tool, there will be only one tool inside their character. So if you want to get a player's equipped tool, you could use find first child, which is and get like the player's tool. Find a tool which is a child of the player or the character, to find the player's equipped tool. If you want to do it like that, you can do that. So that's how the tool works. So say if you want to make a script that will parent the tool to the player's backpack, or you want to give the player a tool when they click something, I'll make like a quick script for it. We'll have a click detector inside the port that we just made, and inside it we'll have a script. And we'll store the tool inside of replicated storage. What replicated storage does is it's basically a way for you to store different instances that can be, later on used by a script. And it can be accessed by the server and the client. You don't know what server and client is yet, but I'm just, I'm telling you that. So it can be accessed by the server and the client. And you also have server storage, which is specifically only be able to be used by server scripts. Only server scripts can access it, right? So we're going to parent it inside replicated storage. We can even have a folder called tools. We'll put our tool inside. So we're just going to do that for organization, right? And inside our script, we'll detect when the click detector is clicked or activated. And we need to get our player. So we're going to have our player argument. We're going to use our player parameter here. And all we're going to do is make a reference to our replicated storage. So I'm going to store that in a variable. And I forgot to zoom in again, but here I do it now. There you go. So rs, and now we're going to reference our tool folder, which is called tools. And we're going to reference our tool, and we're going to clone it. So now our new tool will be the clone tool, and then all we gotta do is parent it to the player's backpack. Okay, sure, backpack. And you'll see it even autofills the backpack for us, even though there's not a player loaded. So now if we play it, you'll see that the player doesn't automatically have the tool in their inventory, right? Because it's not in the starter pack anymore. But once we click this part, it'll give us a bunch of tools that we can all use, right? And it's all printing. Alright, so one more thing I want to go over is we're going to go back to our tool script, name this tool handler or something, and then this other script can be called the tool giver. Right, so basically we want to detect when the player activates the tool. So what we're going to do is make it so whenever the player activates the tool, it'll change the handle's color. So all we gotta do is make a reference to our handle. And see, it's a lot easier now because we have a reference to our tool, so it makes it a lot easier to reference our handle, because the handle is always going to be a child of the tool. And now once we activate it, we are going to change the handle's color, math.random. So we're going to use math.random to get a random color. If I can spell. No, I can't. Alright. And we're going to do random number 1 through 255. We're just going to use 255 because the default minimum value will always be 1 and the maximum will be whatever we put it in if we only use one argument. Now, one thing we want to do is I'm going to add a cooldown, kind of is how somebody would describe it, but it's actually called the debounce. And I'm just going to use a simple debounce for this. I'm not going to go over using os.clock, even though I much more prefer that, but it's okay. So what we're going to do is when the tool is activated, we're going to check if the debounce is true or not. And if it is, then we're going to change our part's color. And we're also going to set debounce to true. Or set it back to false. Or no, we're going to set it to true. And in our if statement, we're going to check if it's false. So what we do is we set it to true, right? So what setting it to true means is that it will no longer trigger this if statement, because this if statement now is only checking to see if it's false. And then we're going to have a task.wait, which will wait like a second or two. This second that we're waiting will be our cooldown, however long we're waiting to have the cooldown. And then we'll have our debounce go back to false after a few seconds, right? So what this will do is it'll check to see if the debounce is set to false, right? And if it is, it'll set it to true to prevent the script from being triggered, or this function to be prevent it from being activated anymore. And then what we'll do is after a second, we'll set it back to false so that it can be used again, right? So once we play, you'll see we get our tool and we click it and it changes its color, but if we try and spam it, it'll only change every second, even though we're spamming it, because it has a cooldown, right? Some cool colors I'm getting. I don't even know. I like some of these colors, but yeah, that's how that works. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to make a tool, and what your tool is going to do is create a new part every time the player clicks, and this part will have like random properties. So you can make it like a square or a sphere or a cylinder, whatever. Make it like a random color or something, and make it spawn at the handles position. So make it spawn at the tools position. And basically, you can make it anchored or not anchored. Probably unanchored is best. And basically, it'll just like fall on the ground whenever the player, you know, clicks. So it's like a new part basically with random properties. So I'm gonna ask you to do that. You can move the tool to starter pack if you want. You don't need like this tool giver thing. It was just an example, right? But that's okay. So now I'm going to show you my solution, how I would do it. So I'm going to get rid of this tool giver and this tools folder and replicated storage. We don't need that anymore. We're just going to use starter pack now. And we're going to make edit our tool script because we already have a tool, so we're just going to reuse it. And inside it, we're going to make a new part using instance.new from the previous video. Right, so we make a new part, and it's actually good practice to set all of your new parts properties before you set its parent. I kind of forgot to go over that in the last video, but it's okay. So we're gonna set our parts size. We're gonna make a new sphere, so we're gonna make its shape, and its shape is an enum. What? I forget how to get a play. Here it is. It's ball. It's part type. You use the part type enum to change its shape, I guess. I don't know why it's part type, but it's whatever. And we'll set its position to the handles position, and we'll make its color random. I shouldn't have removed that other script or that other code, that line. I could have reused it, but it's okay. Alright. And I almost forgot to set its parent, but we gotta set its parent to the workspace. Now what will happen is, you see every time we do it, it creates a ball, and we can kind of push it around like a soccer ball or something if we really want to, and we can kind of spam it to create a bunch of big bouncy balls, right? Make a bunch of balls, and we can push them around, do whatever. You can see they just kind of go out all over the place because we don't anchor them, and we can collide with them because we don't have can collide off. I'd like to make their material plastic though, or smooth plastic, because they look kind of ugly. And I'm gonna lower the cooldown to like 0.1 just to be a little bit weird. And one thing I want to go over is destroying instances. So you can destroy an instance with like part destroy like this, and we could destroy it after the cooldown is up. So if we wanted to, we can make like do it like this. So after 1 second, the part will be destroyed and our cooldown will be back up, so we can make a new part again, which is kind of weird. I don't like that, right? So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna teach you a service called the debounces service. So we're gonna gain a service, and it's called the debounces, right? So what the debounces does is it will automatically destroy parts. So it's really easy to use. All you gotta do, and it's much better than using task.wait, because now you don't have to yield and then destroy. You could use the debounces service and then use the add item event or method, and then all you do is you give it the instance you want to destroy after a set time as the first argument, and then you give it the time you want to destroy it after as the second argument. So we're going to destroy it after 3 seconds. So we're going to add our part to the debounces service to be destroyed after 3 seconds. So you'll see once we push it, we can push it around and everything, but after 3 seconds it gets destroyed. So we can spawn a bunch of them, but you'll see they'll slowly be destroyed to kind of prevent lag or prevent the player from adding too many, right? So that's pretty much how that works. I thought the debounces service would be and destroy would be useful things to teach you, because I really like them. They're very useful, and I actually didn't know about the debounces service. I didn't know about the debounces for like forever. I really didn't know about it for like a long time, for maybe like a year or so. So I was just using task.wait and then destroying after, before I knew that the debounces service existed. And I really wish I knew about it sooner, so that's why I'm going over in this video, so you know about it early, hopefully. So if you don't understand it, it's okay. You can always learn about it later on in your scripting career, right? But it's just good for you to know that it exists, because I didn't. So thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.